All right, this is part 3 of our video on graphing exponential functions. When we left off, I asked you to finish filling in this table. We looked at the graph and said that it was going to, we looked at the equation, said it was going to go up 5, right 1. It was a reflection, a vertical reflection, and a vertical compression of 6. So since we were going up 5, we decided to add 5 to the y since it's changing the y values. Right 1 would change the x value, so we did the opposite and added 1. And then to do our vertical reflection and compression of 6, we divided by 6, that's what the compression is, and then we put the negative in to do the reflection. So on my calculator, I calculated the values for both. So I took my x values of 3 to the x and I added on a 1. And then I took the y values from 3 to the x and I divided by -6 first, and then added 5. So hopefully your numbers match up. All we have left to do is just to plot our graphs. So I'm just going to plot my points as best we can. I've already marked on a scale to save us some time. And what we want to do is plot all 3 of these graphs. So I'm going to start with the first one. I like to do the positive points first and then go from there. So I cannot graph 81. Unfortunately, my graph does not go that high. It also does not go all the way up to 27. So I'm going to start with 2 and 9 since that's really the first point that I'm going to be able to plot. So 2 and 9 is right there. 1 and 3, 0 and 1, -1, and and 1/3. So 1/3 is, well, a third of the way to 1. So it's it's a third of the way down to 0. And then 1/9, that's kind of tricky. And 1/27, really I'm pretty much plotting the points just right above that line. And then the 1/81, they're all really close to the x-axis. So I'm going to fill in the side that reminds me of a parabola. Goes up, although the step pattern isn't the same. And then this side here should be leveling off at 0 where the asymptote is. Okay, how would I know looking at the function that that's where the asymptote is? When we look at our function, it's always the k value, and since this really has no k value, it just has the 0, my asymptote should be at 0. All right, to take a look at the next graph, I'm going to take all of my points and plot them. So starting at the bottom with the whole numbers here, my graph only goes up to 15, so it's not going to be able to do 152. I am not going to be able to graph 44. But I can graph 8, so I'm going to do -4 and 8. And then -5 and -4. That was quite the jump. -6 and -8. -7 and -9.33. So it's going to be just below that 9 line. 9.78 should be closer to 10. 9.93 is going to be just above that -10 line. And then the -9.98 really is pretty much on that line. Oh, you can't see those points. Sorry about that. So those are where I plotted them. So I'm going to fill in the side there and here. So just to point out, sorry that you couldn't see that, there's my -4, -8. That's my -9.33. This is my -9.78, my -9.93, and my -9.98. Okay, and the last graph, you'll notice I was color coding. If you didn't color code, you need to number them. The last one, all of those points look unfriendly, but we're going to try our best. So I'm going to start at this side. At least I think I have a better chance of graphing that. So I have 5 and -8.5. So 5 and -8.5 should be halfway between -8 and -9. 4 and 0.5 is going to be halfway between 0 and -1. 3 and 3.5, so it's going to be 3 and then the halfway point. 4.5 should be halfway above 4. 4.83 is going to get close to 5. And then 0.94 is getting closer to 5. And then really the last 3 points, I have 9.8, 9.94, and 9.98 on a grid this small. They are not going to look any different. They're all pretty much going to look like they're in the exact same spot on that line. Okay, so if I draw in the parabola-ish side, that's that. Sorry, I had to turn that to graph. And then I do notice by looking at the values that it is leveling off at 5. Okay, I can tell a couple of ways. I can see in the table here, right, that we're getting close to 5. So that's one way I can tell that's where the asymptote is. The other is it's the k value. The k value is plus 5. So that's an easy way for me to tell. So there are your graphs. Hopefully they look like mine. Now what I'm going to ask you to do to finish off the rest of this lesson is to do the check your understanding page on your own. So this is a page for you to do, and we will take it up in class.